All of Us Are Dead at the time of writing this is number 2 in the United States on Netflix, which is a huge feat given that America is not only the largest media market in the world, but the largest population of people watching Netflix, making up around 60% of Netflix's total viewers, are American. Nonetheless, All of Us Are Dead is a South Korean zombie series about 2 groups of high schoolers. At the moment, I feel kind of indifferent about the show, but that's before I took a deep dive into it. Speaking of deep dives on this channel, I do reviews a little different. Instead of talking about the entire series and all the major events, I choose 1 to 3 episodes to review that best reflect my opinions on the show, while also not entirely spoiling it. Well, these episodes are a little over an hour long, so I'm gonna choose 1 episode this time, and that will be episode 2. I'm assuming most of you have made it past this episode already, and if not, this won't really spoil too much. But hey, you've been warned, so I'm gonna run an ad while you contemplate whether you want to stay and listen or go finish the show. So episode 2 starts during the beginning stages of the outbreak, right when it's getting crazy, and this opener is funny because, I mean, poor dude here is participating in a funny video, presumably for TikTok, but out of sheer fear, he never takes off the boot. After a scene of teachers arguing, we get Peg Leg walking in a hallway, and there's this funny reoccurring gag of people walking up to bloody crackhead looking students and pretending nothing's amiss. So next we get this cafeteria scene, and wow, this is a colorful cafeteria, but what's insane to me is the sheer amount of actors they have. Like, damn, what was the budget for this show? Nonetheless, it's only episode 2, so of course they escape pretty much easily, minus the mental trauma. Later we see this guy who has a great idea but horrible execution. Like, why a ladder? You kind of deserve to get bodied, but turns out that actually helps homeboy, my favorite character, get into the, you'll see later. Fast forward, they make it into a classroom and immediately start making references.
Train to Busan.
The movie?
Moron. Aren't they zombies? It's the same thing.
Zombies at our school?
Not gonna lie, I can't say that's unrealistic. Bear Sue and Namra get to the classroom. Now we have the full gang. These are the people that got helped by the dude falling off the line. Anyways, Bear Sue, I can't remember his real name, but he's my favorite character in this show because, I mean, he's W Mans. But for every W Mans, we have 2 to 3 L's. This guy here is getting interrogated. Obviously. This guy here getting interrogated is the dude who created the virus. They reveal why in the scene right after this. The explanation is intriguing, but long story short, he started the apocalypse to stop bullying. Yeah, that kind of sounds stupid when you say that out loud. So instead of, I don't know, teaching your kid how to fight, calling someone that isn't an insensitive school teacher, or transferring schools, he did this. I know I said Bear Sue is my favorite character, but the zombies here are the biggest W. I know movies and shows aren't a accurate representation of a country, but it gives you a good idea of their stereotypes. So speaking of that, are teachers actually this big of an asshole in Asia? As you can see here, this teacher or coach, I don't know if Korea does it to where your coach teaches, I don't know. Here our coaches have to teach a class, I don't know, but he makes an example out of Lil Shawty here and tells everyone she's a senior with no gold medals and she's failing her exams. Dick move. That kind of motivation only works on certain people, but this actually hurts her character. Flashback to the school, the students are doing something smart. They find a phone and they make an emergency call. Unfortunately, they didn't rationalize the absurdity of their situation and told the truth, so the police believe it's a prank. I mean, can you imagine getting a call saying there's zombies eating people out of school? You're gonna think that kid's a fucking idiot. Anyways, but hey, they got the fire department to come. Whatever. So we get some classroom politics. It's kind of funny, but all you get from this scene is this girl right here is an asshole, and apparently bucking up at girls isn't as frowned upon in Korea there as it is here. But politics don't last long, but we do get a a scene that explains this show perfectly. The kids make a shocking discovery. This teacher they let inside is infected.
It looks like you were really bitten.
I wasn't! How many times must I tell you?
Then why the hell are you hiding it? Just show it to us. I said get out now!
Cocksucker!
It's funny to me because they discover this issue fairly quickly, but they act so late on it. So homie falls, and at this point I verbally yelled out, "If you don't jump this nigga!" And well, we get a fight scene. It is wild to me that there is like 15 students in here, but instead of jumping his ass, they proceed to run the ones with him, and at least the old shawty getting bitten. Sad. So they subdue the teacher and Lil Shawty, but instead of cracking their heads or I don't know, throwing them out of a window, they leave the classroom, which is stupid. I mean, the following chase scene is rather intense, but it just seems their logic and actions are super odd, or they act extremely late on things. In this show, they randomly use slow motion, and it's one of those things where it's so bad that is extremely funny.
Get out of the way!
The door is a good idea, but we're gonna chalk it up to luck in the fact that zombies don't think, that they didn't just bite their fingers. Well, that's kind of nitpicky, but you see what I mean. Fast forward, they are trying to break into a classroom or whatever, and they send literally the second smallest person in the group to break the lock. And at this point, I'm kind of rolling on the floor. But hey, shout out to these zombie actors. They're the loop because they're fucking hilarious. After this, they try to board up the classroom, but Pink Shawty is on a whole nother level of bigotry. Hopefully I'll pop the definition of bigotry on the screen, but that's more classroom politics, so you can see the characters' personalities. And on a lesser scale, some stereotypes. I'm recording these anime reactions back to back, so at this point I've been talking for literally almost 30 minutes straight. Anyways, we switch to a bathroom scene, and no, it's not one from Bang Bros, but this little Shawty here is on timing. She bodies a zombie, then gets pressed by athletes. Also, does this dude's haircut disturb anyone else? I feel like it's just me. Anyways, this doesn't really have much influence besides the fact they're introducing the characters that are part of the subplot or the second group of characters that I talked about earlier. Speaking of plots, firefighters show up at the school. In Korean, firefighters were orange. That's cool. Anyways, also their emergency number is 119. In Europe, I think it's 999, and of course here in America it's 911. Fast forward, this girl is turning right and turning that's the right sentence, but I didn't say it right. So this girl is turning right. She's bleeding, has bloodshot eyes, and Anjo decides, hey, let's go give this girl a hug. W hospitality, but stupid logic. And speaking of stupid logic, if you're in a toxic relationship, this is what it looks like from an outside perspective. I mean, let that bitch go. So the kids use some W strats to escape the classroom, and they all make it safe. They make it to safety, but hey, we can't end the episode without someone's heart getting dunked on.
Everyone in here lost a friend on Joe. Do you know how many people died? Why are you so...
Now there's just no one left that I like.
Now, that's actually happened to me several times. Not in that exact same way, but the formula is the same. All of Us Are Dead is a rather comical series. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I find it funny. Their situational awareness is actually really good, especially for a bunch of 16 to 17 year olds. But the way they act on these situations is kind of the golden gun of the show. It's simultaneously like good ideas, but there's a lot of random over the top shit in here. Whether it be a argument, someone acting petty, someone being overly emotional. But then again, like I said, these are 16-year-olds besides the girl with the bow. And how do I feel about the show? I don't really feel anything for it. The show has a good mix of action and teen romance, and personally, I'm not really into the chick flick romantic stuff, so if you have to really nail it for me to care. But that's not to say the romance in the show is bad. It's radical and awkward like most teenage relationships are. So, you know, especially when y'all are just crushing. So it actually represents teen love rather well, especially stereotypically, right? As for the show, it's a good show. I would recommend it. Personally, I don't feel like, I mean, I've taken this show at face value, but I don't think the show really does anything wrong. I mean, if you're if you're a show or movie critiquer, there's probably little things here and there you can kind of nitpick, but the show doesn't really do anything wrong. So whether you enjoy the show or not really comes down to personal preference. I have an open preference. This is the kind of show I normally wouldn't like because, again, I'm not into the chick flick stuff, and I'm also kind of biased against live action shows. It's nothing against actors, you know what I'm saying? It's just that to me, when shows are drawn, you know, in a cartoon or an anime, the suspension of disbelief is better because it's easier to see, you know, it's easier to see Naruto jump 10 feet in the air and do a Rasengan than it is to see, I don't know, Dwayne Johnson do it. Because if you see Dwayne Johnson, he's a person just like you and I. You understand the physical limitations of him. But when they're in a show, you don't, you know, their limitations are whatever you set for them. That was a little bit of a tangent. I just wanted to throw it out there. Anyways, if you need something to entertain you on your lunch break, this show is pretty much good. This show is an hour. I don't know. I mean, at Walmart, we get hour-long lunch breaks. So it's good enough to entertain you for that. And besides that, I mean, it's a pretty long commitment, but hey, this video is going to be like 15-ish minutes, and most of y'all won't even finish that. But hey, number 2 in the US, not bad. I think they earned it. Although this show had me feeling indifferent, yeah, they earned it. Of course, this isn't as big or as hyped as the last show to come out of South Korea, but I still think it holds a candle to it. Let me know how you feel. Who's your favorite character if you've seen the show? If you haven't seen the show, would you consider watching it after this? So yeah, I pretty much stated everything I needed to state in this show. I think I missed saying something that like I don't know. There's this odd thing to where in these scenes, they don't punch each other. Like there's a lot of situations where you're like, yo, just punch that. Like they'll be pushing and shoving, they'll do everything except punch somebody. So I don't know, there is a weird kiss scene in here. There's a bunch of like weird things in here where you're just like, what the heck is going on? So I'm titling this, or at least the original title would be something along the lines of All of Us Is Dead, All of Us Are Dead is unintentionally comical or unintentional comedy. But that's because it is, because like there's things in here where you're like, I don't think that was supposed to be funny, but that was so stupid I can't help to laugh. But I'm dragging this until we meet in the comments. Remember, if you know man, because we know we up next. Sponsored by Atari.
Joint will be hopping. The octopus said the same thing to Yoshi. It's about being patient, picking your moment. So snap out of it. You can't let a couple of losses blow you off course. You don't have to win now, just someday. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Well, it kills the octopus.